Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the American Society of Dowsers. This morning's presentation is from Alicja Aratyn, Stepping Up from Fear to a Powerful Group Consciousness. Fear and fearmongers have constantly been present in our lives and environments since late 2019. How much do we understand the fear itself so that we can heal it? Without understanding how to deal with fear, it's impossible to empower ourselves and overcome it. The fastest and most successful approach is using therapeutic pendulums. When we conquer fear, we can easily conquer and find comfort in power of the group. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Reverend Alicja Aratyn. Welcome.
Thank you very much. And welcome to everyone. Welcome everyone in this class. As it was said, without further ado, let's start with the lecture, and it will be a PowerPoint, or in my case, keynote presentation, but we will have all the questions afterwards, okay? And of course, you can always contact me over the phone or send me an email with your questions. So let's begin. I will start to share screen with you, and we will go for it. Fear is something what was with us for the last at least 2 years. Of course, it's something what we all have to some point, because there are two main forces which run our life. One is love, one is fear. Everything what is negative as an emotions is kind of branches out from fear. However, sometimes people think that hatred is the first or the original negative feeling, or anger, but in fact it is fear. So it's extremely important for us, especially now when we are overcoming this kind of harsh time from last 2 years, and to try to shed this skin of fear around us. We will talk first about why it's important from the social point of view. And here I will use the motto for today, and hopefully forever for most of us, from Nikola Tesla, who said, among other things, of course, that though free to think and act, we are held together like stars in the firmament, with tie inseparable. These ties cannot be seen, but we can feel them. We are all one. And that's why overcoming the fear is the most important part today. The fact that very many people were not consumed by fear over the last 2 years definitely help us to have this kind of the average level of fear lower, and this fearmonger around us on definitely lower level than was expected. Let's also talk about René Descartes, who said cognito ergo sum, which means I think, therefore I am. And over the many years and many centuries, actually, people define life itself in a very different way. But most thinkers, philosophers, visionaries, and so on, all those people agree that the essence of life is an awareness of being alive. And again, especially for the last 2 years, it is very, very important for all of us to remember that we are still alive and nothing is happening to us. and nothing will happen to us. And that kept some of us rejecting vaccination and any type of tests, and so on and so on. But let's first look at also about a definition of fear. Some of you know that my interest was always in healing with dowsing instruments due to my past, because I see energies, and I, from very young age, could kind of, see those things being present in the houses and or around people and so on. And as some of you know, when I was small and I was very affected by it and scared, actually. So I have very personal kind of relationship with fear on different scale and different level. I promised myself that when I will be old enough, I will understand what it is about those other energies and so on. I choose very different or very strange way of kind of experiencing this and overcoming, because I became an engineer, so I can understand the mechanics of things. I also first became actually a chemist to understand the universe, because I thought that if I will understand the numbers, if I will understand the electrons and atoms and things like this on the minimal scale, then of course it will help me to also to understand how is it possible that things can happen on the subtle, as we can say today, subtle level. So for many years now, I'm interested and still study, because medicine is something what you study until the end of your life. Study new medicine, which is Germanic new medicine, and they have slightly different definition of fear. And this definition of fear used there is that fear is a mechanism from the automatic brain to keep the person in touch with reality. And they also say that fear expresses a conflict of lack. And that's interesting, because this conflict of lack, when someone looks at it first time, can say, well, what kind of lack? Well, first of all, lack of safety, security, lack of love, lack of practically everything, lack of community over the last 2 years, a lack of contact with other people, and so on. But official definition of fear is that it is an unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by anticipation or awareness of danger, which is lack. Again, because if it's awareness of danger, then obviously there is a lack of security, for example. Just to go for the first emotion which comes to mind. Fear is created by conflicts, emotional conflicts. And again, I will address it from new medicine point of view. So maybe for some of you it will be new, but I hope it will be worth to explore this maybe new and other point of view. So we have two types of conflict, which we go through with during the course of our life. First is psychological conflict. Psychological conflict does not affect our mind, does not affect our brain, because psychological conflict is something what we know it will come, but it is, well, like a death of mother or father, it is never too early or just in proper time. We always suffer, but it's different suffering because we know that everything is going into this direction. So in a sense, emotionally, we are prepared, sometimes for years, we are preparing ourselves for this moment. But there is another type of conflict, and this is emotional conflict. And emotional conflict has to meet three requirements in order to affect our brain. And all three has to be met for our brain to imprint it in the areas of the brain which are called in new medicine relays, which means, again, areas of the brain which are connected with this type of emotion and the organ which stores or reacts to this type of emotion. So first of all, it has to be unexpected. Someone calls you, that happened. Wow. So it's very unexpected. Subjectively traumatic or shocking. It's because we do not expect it, and it's really shocking information. Is if, for example, like on this picture, someone dies who is healthy and kind of driving home for dinner from work, dies on the streets. And then the third requirement is that it's lived in isolation. And it is not that you are completely alone, that you are separated from people. You are with people. You can be among so many people who will come and visit you and tell you how much they care and they feel for you and all this, but nobody goes through this conflict, through this trauma as you. So you have this inner understanding and nobody can understand you. That's why it is lived in isolation. Of course, it can happen that you are physically also alone, but mostly it is how you process this emotion, okay, not the 3D reality around you. So if those three requirements are met, then your brain will store it in a specific area of the brain, and we will not go through the buildup of the brain and three brains and so on, but basically it goes like this, that every crisis of this type, which we were talking about it, which means emotional trauma, takes place on three levels. One is feeling or emotions, which means those are intrusive thoughts which do not allow you to forget about it. You constantly think about it. Then it automatically, in split second, goes into brain, which means the specific relay, which you see many of them here along this those areas, and of course different layer of if we do the scan and analyze the scan of the brain, CT scan of the brain, we will see a different relays and different problems which are stuck there. So when you have the feeling or emotion, it in split second hits the brain, and automatically it also goes to inner organ, which relates to this type of trauma, right? We can then say that every organ is energetically connected with specific feeling or emotion and situation. There are a few deciding factors how one will process the trauma. So the main thing, the main factor is handness. And handness is not laterality, because laterality is how energy flows through our body and which hand is more mobile so we can write easier and better. Handness is about how brain is wired inside, therefore how we will process emotions like fear, for example. Right? And we need to remember that if we are one, then everything what comes with it will spread from us to other people, and who will also absorb them from other people. So I would like you now to do this simple exercise, which is clapping your hands, and see if you can look at my hands, which hand claps the other hand. So this hand for me, which is right, moves rather toward the left. Left is less active here, all right? Even if people say, oh, but I clap like this. You see, I'm clapping like this, but my right hand goes farther, and it's kind of more engaged in the process than my left hand. Okay, so do this exercise and find out what is your handness. And here is, I'm sorry, there is a spelling mistake in this handness. But anyway, so if the hand which claps the other hand is the hand which show you how your brain is desired, is wired. So I'm right-handed, okay? It is interesting that if you were, or one was switched during the early school, they do not switch children right now at school, but they used to. When I was, for example, a child, they would switch left-handed children to the right-handed. But when you clap, it will still show you that you are right-handed. All right, so why is it important? Because it will show us how we process the emotions, right? Among others, the fear. So if you are a right-handed woman or left-handed man, you will have on the right side, for me it's right side, is a partner, and we will come back to it in a moment. On the left side, all traumas, emotional conflict, and so on will be addressed to or relate to mother and children. Even if a woman had an abortion, there is still a child. So I have a partner on the partners or partner on the right side, and mother and child, which means my mother and my son, will be on the left side. If I have a problem which expresses yourself on the left side of the body, it will be either connected with my mother or my child. Nothing else. Nobody else goes on this side. Sometimes someone who you care about at the very this person old age can go on the right side if, for example, well, the father becomes so sick and you care for him, and you really care for him like for a small child, then he can at that point move from my right side to my left side. But otherwise, the rest of the world, all the humanity is on my right side, where is partner. Partner is your husband, your brother, your aunt, your uncle, your boss, your lover, your teacher, whoever. Everyone else except for a mother and a child is a partner in your life, right? So if problems are, for example, with the right kidney, it will be about the partner. So we have to think, or I have to think, in this case, what's going on in my life and with whom, which affects my kidney, because it's right kidney. Now, left-handed woman and right-handed man will have things other way. On the right side, they will have mother and children, and on the left side, they will have partners. So as you can see, handness is very important because it will show me who my trauma is connected with. Of course, among the partners, I have to find who it was, but you know, it takes 24 to 48 hours, in fact, for trauma to show up on physical level, right? So it's not that far ago, and we can think about it and understand what happened in our life over the last 48 hours, who we went through the very traumatic time with, and so on. Of course, there is much more to say about it, but this situation is for the people with normal, as we say, normal hormonal level, which means women before PMS and men before andropause. But what happens when we are after, which means post-menopausal or andropausal hormonal status? Well, women before PMS will be real female. She can bear a child, she can be sexually very active, and so on. So her hormonal status is very high, and therefore she became this beautiful, you know, wonderful, like a Barbie woman. When she is a female, her first reaction will be fear, because women are about protecting the nest by nature, protecting the nest, protecting the house, protecting people in the house, and so on. But after PMS, she became female male, which means the different level of hormones starts to take place, and therefore she has more male hormones than women hormones, and therefore she became male. And that's why we often see or can see very aggressive older women, famous, you know, woman attacking someone with umbrella just because he said something. For female before PMS, it's very, very rarely seen. And then first reaction is anger. She is first angry at you, and therefore umbrella, you know, in her hand is her weapon. But before that, she will react with fear. What will happen to me? I'm a mother. I have to look about my children. I have to look about my nest. So I have to withdraw myself and start to and protect them, because my life is not only about me. Over the last 2 years, you could see the difference in men reactions and women reactions in store, for example. If you would go to the store, I didn't wear mask. So if I would go to the store when masks were in order and I didn't have mask, then women will keep away from me like, oh my goodness, I can die right away, getting closer to her. And men would be angry and say, why don't you wear the mask? I will go to the clerk and I will tell them that you don't wear the mask, you're supposed to wear the mask. So I would say then, well, then separate yourself from me, just go away. All right, so that's the difference before menopause and post-menopause, menopausal situation when with women, because the wiring in the brain kind of moves the emotion from left part of brain to right, and it changes our reaction to what is going on in our life. Let's talk about men. Male before andropause will be male, which means macho man, you know, and first reaction is anger. So that's why guys fight, they kick each other and so on. But after andropause, they become male-female again. The hormonal status changes, and then they start to react with fear. And older men, as you can see, try to, if you will observe the people around you, the older male starts to withdraw himself. He starts to react with fear. They do not attack. Not only they know that they are not physically strong enough, they do not attack because they react first with fear. They kind of react like a woman before PMS. One of the organs which will respond to it are kidneys. And kidneys have a few biological conflicts which you can often see today among people, which means those three main biological conflicts, because of course there is a lot more to say about every of those steps we went through, but we are just touching the topic so we will understand it more. So biological conflict which apply to kidney is abandonment conflict, existence conflict, and refugee conflict. So abandonment conflict create a feeling of being ousted, excluded or rejected, unwanted, not understood, ignored, left out, isolated, and alone. So I feel like I'm really live my life, I mean, not me, but a person, in isolation because I'm alone. Nobody understands me, therefore they ignore me and they do not talk to me. They do not invite me anywhere, and so on. Biological conflict connected with existence conflict is a fear for one's life. And people say sometimes, my life is at stake. A hospitalization last 2 years showed us how high the rate of death was in the hospitals, and it's not only because people were sick there, but because they had this problem of, will I survive? So it is existential problem. And in retirement homes, when people were like hospitalized, nobody could see them, often they didn't understand what is going on, people were coming and giving them injection even without asking for permission, and so on and so on. So in their brain, really something happens and I can die at any moment. And there was no one to give them, to hold their hand and say, everything will be fine. Just hang on. Not feeling cared for, and the popular saying as well, I have lost everything. Well, of course, people lost businesses, people lost their closed ones, people lost the families, in a sense that the families were divided with their point of view, and they couldn't talk to each other. And if family is everything to me, then I have lost everything. And then a refugee conflict, which is being thrown into the desert, like being thrown into the desert, a feeling uprooted or in exile. Therefore, this type of conflict very often presents itself in first generation of immigration. When we have to, well, I'm first generation of immigration here, and you have to fight for everything. You have no idea how the country operates. It's normally different than your country, and everything is new. Everything is strange. You don't understand how people think and what their system of value is. And you have to absorb everything relatively fast in order to root yourself in this new situation. Some can do it better, some can do it worse, but somehow we all do it. Even if you move from state to state or province to province or in different city, that's the problem with many children when parents move far away and they have to leave their friends. Of course, kidneys are also responsible for, because they work with water, and they belong to the element of water. If you look at it from the Chinese medicine point of view, then it's overflow. They will influence money, because money is always connected with water. Money flow, money source, and so on. But also, if there is overflow of the problems, overflow of the problems, too much is on my head, too much is on my shoulders, then shoulders will respond, but also kidney. So the problems are overflowing and I cannot manage them, right? On the top of that we need to think about what is the root cause of this problem. And I normally analyze with my clients, I normally analyze their life in order to find out what is the original trauma which created this pattern in their brain, and eliminate there is normally edema in the part of the brain, which sometimes by Western medicine is understood as a cancer. But Dale Carnegie said that inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. If you want to conquer fear, do not sit home and think about it. Go out and get busy. The thing is that when we were closed at home for the last 2 years, for a shorter or longer time, we were, the fear was increasing in us. Just because we were left with our problems, with our thoughts, and so on, and with this fear. What will happen to me? We didn't have any support from the family, from the friends, hang there and so on. And even if we would, that was on Zoom or FaceTime or whatever you say, there was no personal contact or very limited personal contact. But as I said, on the top of this, that we will think about it, what happened and why, we also have to take some action and that's what we'll do in a moment. That's what I show you. Excuse me. And also on the top of this, let me share with you what Carl Gustav Jung said. He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens. That's why many people who didn't buy the concept of COVID and they didn't really were kind of paralyzed by it, use this time to look inside. And actually a lot of awakening really happened among people just because they couldn't do anything outside. So they were kind of pushed to go inside and think and analyze it, which can help us from the point of view of dowsing is to use pendulums, either those which radiate white light, and there is a few of them. So Isis, Renova, Merisis Nova, Osiris, Karnak, this type of pendulums, or pendulums radiating frequency of gold, which is Atlantis golden hue and Super Isis 16 or 16 E, which stands for Egyptian version of Super Isis 16. Now, higher we go with the energy, which pendulum can support our effort with, faster it will be done. So it's always a matter of having, excuse me, having a choice, of course, also financial choice. I'm so sorry, I have to take a little bit of water. And I forgot to prepare it for me. You see, many people, if you will look, if you will listen to people who kind of do their best to think outside the box, you will see that majority of them have a problem with their throats for the last 2 years, just because expressing yourself fully and saying your truth openly may end up with closing you everywhere. So if you have YouTube channel, you will be close through Twitter or whatever, those type of things. So I'm so sorry for my throat. So in a moment, I will show you how to work on it, but let's say, let's go first through the procedure, and then we will come back to those handouts, and we will do it. Okay. So first, you will scan the body, and the body is actually the body of a man or a woman from this chart. You can, of course, print your own chart later on. And then we will mark the area filled with fear on the drawings which are provided. Then we will find if the fear is from the current or the past life by saying this fear is from the current life, yes, no, or this fear is from the past life, yes, no. Then we will say, when we will find if it's from this lifetime or previous, we can say, I can safely remove this packet of fear now. If yes, then we will remove it. If no, then we need to check for other options. For example, we can say, I should know more about this fear before I will remove it, of course. Or we can say it is not the most beneficial time to remove this fear now. So again, you can, we can analyze it from those 2 points of view, but there is endless amount of possibilities, and therefore I cannot list them here. You just have to think about this fear, this person, their life, and so on, and then ask more questions. And then you will say, please remove this packet of fear with all the causes, with all its causes and purposes in the most beneficial, soothing, and healing way. We don't want people to go through additional trauma. That's right. So we will do it as gentle as possible. And then we will wait until pendulum will stop rotating. Always ask afterwards, with anything what you do in dowsing, check if the process has been finished. And if the answer is no, repeat it until finished, which means do it again and then ask, are we finished? Or is the process finished? And then if no still, then you do it again and say the process has been finished successfully. Yes. And only then you can stop and go to the healing part. After finishing all spots with different packets of fear, you can say, raise the level of health and happiness to the highest level for both ourselves and our community. And then give a thanks and show your gratitude to your fellow human beings and the universe. Because if we are one, you need to thank all people, all individuals on the surface of this planet for assisting you and sharing the energy with you. And you actually, from now, you can share this energy with the community, right? So I will now go further with this presentation in a moment. From now on, I will stop sharing, and what we will do is this. I will put this male figure here. Okay, and I will take a pendulum, healing pendulum. I will work with Super Isis 16, but you can work with any other pendulum, 16E and so on, or Atlantis, or to find it, you can even work with left turn spiral, just because this pendulum will help you to pinpoint this, but it does not have therapeutic properties. Therefore, you will not be able to use it if you want to address the problem right away, point by point. Because one thing which I would like to also tell you is that you have two choices. You can mark the spots, first find the spots, mark the spots, and then heal them all one by one or all together. I personally never do everything together, just because, as I like to say, you know, one fits all is good with pantyhose, but nothing else really in life. So I would clear one by one and then heal whole body. But you can also go through it this way, that if I will find a point somewhere here, I will heal it right away. Or sorry, I will remove it right away. And then I go further and find a spot here, and I will just remove it right away here, all right? And somewhere here, and so on. And then I will do the healing of whole body. So let me lower it a little. And then when we have, oh, and don't use pendulums like this for this type of work. If you want to find out something, this pendulum, for example, golden hue, is a fantastic healing pendulum, releasing gold light, but it does not serve you well here because it's not pointy. You see, it has round bottom, so it will give you a beam of light, which is kind of this type, not like a laser beam, which comes from the point and just beam down to very specific point, right? So let's use the pendulum. And as I said, I will use Super Isis 16. When you deal with energy field, you always go above and beyond. So we will not start from here because it's the top of the head, but we will start somehow some distance above the head, and we will go on one side and on the other side to the subtle bodies. All right? So let me take a pen, pencil, and let's begin. So this is for Mr. X, but you will definitely have someone in mind, and it will be good to have the sample of energy, which means witness of the energy of this person, if you can have it. Normally, I ask people to sign this, but if you are not with them at that point, then you can ask them to send you a picture, their picture, and you will put the picture on this page face down, because the picture will radiate energy this way. So you want the front or the face to the paper, which will absorb the energy from the picture. So we will let's presume that we have the picture of this gentleman, or maybe I will have a woman here, and I will put my finger here, so my energy will be on the page, and then I will start to scan, and I will say, show me the area taken over by pain. And you see, I am above my head, and here is the area. Now, why I'm using this, the pencil, is that there is a lead inside of the lead is one of the elements which is used to create a graphite, and therefore it will stick and hold the energy better than the pen with ink in it, which does not have anything what will absorb the energy. Lead is very interesting metal from the energy transferring point of view, but we do not have much time to talk about it, okay? So, is it from current life? Yes. I would like to remove it now. Yes, okay. So, please remove this packet of fear. As you can see, the pendulum starts to work in opposite direction because it does not say yes or no. It just, I said, remove the packet of pain, and it does that by creating a suction. So it absorbs this fear, sorry, not pain, but fear. It absorbs this fear. The process of removing fear has been finished completely and successfully. Yes, okay, thank you. And now I will do it just with this one point, just because we are limited in time. So I can now say that, you see, even if I didn't say anything, but I thought about it, it starts to work. Right? So that's the healing for me, and to the level. Sorry, I have to focus on it, which is beneficial for me and all the community. Community in this case means also you. Right? So my hand goes up because now I need a support from the universal energy to pass as much energy as it's needed. Okay? And I always check this as well. Excuse me, by saying the beneficial level of energy for my and whole community point of view was achieved. It was successful, has been finished. Okay, and now you can go like this with everything. So as I said, you can go with it point by point, or actually you can mark things and then coming back and do the next step, which is finding out if it's from this life or other life and so on. The choice is yours. In my practice, when I deal with some problem, I deal with it completely now, and then I go further and deal with the other problem or other spot later on. But again, you have to be successful your way. Therefore, please do it the way you want it. Oops. I don't know why I'm doing this. One moment. I think you don't see me now, but I'm not sure if that is a huge loss for you, so let's go with it. The problem is also how not to get sick. And sick either because of fear or sick because of any other reason. So first of all, resolve your conflicts ASAP. Again, if something happens to you and you know on which side, and you know if it's about your partner, and you have, let's say you had this conversation with boss who requires you to do something which you do not agree with, then you can talk to him and say why, or you can do this work in your head when you come back on the spiritual level, and you have the same conversation with him, just on a higher level, and you will tell him what you think, how would you like to have it, and so on. And so the conflict will be resolved for you. And therefore it will not go into your brain or go, but the conflict mass is very small then, if you will react to it immediately. And therefore it's relatively easy, a lot easier than 2 weeks later or 5 years later, to remove this fear or sickness from your body, and then increase your awareness. Well, that's what this conference is, and many other places which you go to either listen to the lectures or find out, or just read the books and other stuff. Listen and trust your body. And that's why I shared with you those main things, what is on which side, and how to address it. And then you can think, do I have really those intrusive thoughts? Because if you cannot stop thinking about something, then definitely there is a trauma which sits in your brain already. All right? Because if something happens and you say, well, this is BS, I will not think about, this is stupid, and I can raise above that, that's fine. But sometimes intrusive thoughts are, in most cases, the main factor which will show you that it is imprinted in your brain, and therefore in your inner organ. And then make decisions which people really don't like. But sometimes you have to make decision and avoid compromise. People say that marriage is a compromise. It's a set of compromises. It is, but there are some crucial stuff which are connected with your belief system, with your integrity, and things which you cannot absolutely give up. Then make your decision. Can I stay with this person just because the person is attractive? Or should I leave because I cannot live my life with this type of compromise? It will cost my life. Because at the end of everything, we are getting sick, not the other person. It hits us, not them. They run their life, and we are getting sick. And of course, diet. But as Dr. Hammer, who was German physicist, doctor, medical doctor, he said, if your emotions are intact, you can eat nails. There is no diet which will help you if you have a problem. It can mask the problem, but it will never solve the problem. The problem is on emotional level, and you have to deal with your emotions. Nobody will do it for you, because everything what comes from outside, however we are all one, will not solve your personal problems and traumas. They can help you, but nobody will solve it but you. That's why normally I give my clients homework to do, because they have to take action. They have to do something to release things which block them. So let's talk about it. Let's wrap up with the quote from Carlos Castaneda, who said, we either make ourselves miserable or we make ourselves strong. The amount of work is the same. And we can paraphrase it and say that it's exactly the same with our sicknesses, with our fears. They can make you miserable, or you can face them, solve them, and make yourself strong. The amount of work is the same. But when you will heal them, they will not eat up your health, your physical body, your joy in life, and the amount of love. And therefore, this sense of lack will be always in us, and we will never be the beneficial part of the community, and we will never be joyful, loving, and fantastic person. And it would be a huge loss if that will happen to any of us. Now, I have for you the special, if you want to buy anything from our website, then from June 11 to 15th, there will be 20% discount for you, and coupon code is very simple, ASD22. If you will choose something, it will be my pleasure to share those products with you. If you would like more information, you can always contact us either through my email, or you can just simply call. We also have YouTube channel and Facebook page, but Facebook, telling the truth, I have not much time to visit Facebook page. On YouTube channel, you can find many many videos which address different topics regarding dowsing. I also run the, let me just finish this and close this. And now we can go through chat. No open questions. I have no idea why I cannot read the questions. Maybe someone can help me with reading the questions. from the chat room. Oh, I have it. Sorry. What do we need to know, Boston?
What is your website?
Okay, my website is intuitivedowsing.com. All right, coupon code ASD22. We see you. Okay. All right. So because there is no specific questions, then maybe you will unmute yourself. And if you have any questions, then I will be happy to answer them. Because I understand that we have another 10-15 minutes, yes?
Yes.
All right.
So,
anyone has a question or problem with this or not this, because we still have the time, which is yours actually, Q&A.
I would like you to say again which pendulums had the white light. You talked about
Okay.
the gold light.
Okay, so first of all, if you will go on our website, then there are under dowsing tools, you can select pendulums and then therapeutic pendulums, and there are two groups, therapeutic pendulums white light and therapeutic pendulums gold light.
Okay.
It's easier actually to tell you which are gold because there is less of them. So gold light is Atlantis, and it can be smaller, large size or small size, golden hue, and then two versions of Super Isis 16, which is our version of Super Isis 16, and smaller and lighter, slightly lighter version of Super Isis 16E, where E stands for Egyptian version. All right, the rest of the therapeutic pendulums are white light.
Thank you.
Now, golden light pendulum has white light in them as well, because if you are higher echelon of pendulums, you will have, you will have the light which is below as well. But the strength is that it releases the frequency of gold, and therefore it carries also the spiritual aspect of ourselves. Not only because you see, white light, we are built of white light. We have an element, of gold, or gold, frequency of gold in us, created by our heart, created by pineal gland as well. But most of us is built of white light because of 7 chakras and so on. When you put them together, it will give you white light. So addressing problems, especially therapeutic problems, which means physical body predicaments with white light, is like adding the building blocks which we are built on but lost for some reason. So adding these building blocks to make us whole again, as we are created. Going from golden light is not only making us whole from the physical point of view, but also enhancing the frequency of gold, which is divine frequency in us. But again, it's also a matter of, available finances. I understand this part very well. So it's up to you. I cannot say that white light are worse pendulum. They just have more limited ability. Okay, but for healing, they are equally good. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
If you determine that this fear was from a past life, do you address it the same way?
Yes, just the simple thing is that because not many of us remembers our past lives, then if it's from past life, I would immediately say, I need to know more about this past life or the trauma in past life. And that is yes, no answer. Yes. So if yes, I need to know more, then you explore the past life. I normally do not count past lives saying like, oh, okay, this is from like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 lifetimes before, because this is information which does not give us much, in my opinion. I would eventually count if it's what century, for example, it was. So I will go by century and find out that it was in 17th century, let's say, which means the end of Dark Ages. And, it relates to family. No, it relates to business or work, yes. So then maybe I need to know who I were at that time or who I was. So was I I represented at that time medical profession, yes, no, and so on. So, but after every question, I would say, do I, or I need to know more. I know that many people go into questions, so do I need to know more? But I don't, I just simply state the things, the fact. So I need to know more. Yes, no, because sometimes you just don't have to know the story of this life. There is just one thing which for some reason is needed to unlock the door, to open it. All right, and that's why I said there is practically endless amount of options what to ask about or what to consider, and therefore it's very hard to list them.
There are 2 questions in the chat room. One, do you sell pendulums? And I think we've given them the website. And the other question is, how difficult is it to heal trauma from 50 years of ongoing abandonment, neglect, etc.?
Well, first of all, you really have to find the original trauma. Only original trauma has been imprinted into specific relay, right? Everything else, from new medicine point of view, everything else what happened later on is, as we call it, a track, which means a trigger, which emotionally sends you back unconsciously to this original trauma. You don't really live the present trauma. You actually are the 5 years old Alicja, which fell into, I don't know, animal trap in the forest. I'm making it up, right? And was scared for her life because there was no one in the forest and she will die. Okay. Now, every time, I don't have to fall into the trap again, but every time when I will feel trapped, emotionally, I am in this animal trap, 5 foot down in the ground, waiting for someone to save me. Every time when I will be doing something deeper in the ground, I will brought back to this place. I may even not like to gardening, which I actually do not like, but I would not like gardening because I don't want to dig in the soil, right? So the trigger can be different thing, can be a sound of music, can be a color of the wall, can be a smell which is in this room, can be, those are, now if we'll go to sensitivities, there is a sensitivity to specific type of food which you are eating when this trauma happened. And every time when people will take wheat into their mouth, they go there. And they go through the fear, through the trauma from that original. So that's why it's important to find what is, what this original trauma was, and then through different techniques to remove this trauma. The original one, if you will remove the track, it doesn't matter, because if you will go to original trauma, track will be removed automatically. It will simply cease to exist, and edema in your brain will shrink and then also cease to exist. Because edema in the brain in specific areas is to protect this part of the brain from any other harm. We are talking, we are working here, in fact, with two different things. One thing is what happens to our physical body now, which means edema, which protects this part of the brain, so it will not hurt by anything else. It will not suffer more. So there is a pillow of, it depends, because it depends on the stage, but anyway, it comes from the specific liquid into the simply water, which surrounds this part of the brain. And when the original trauma is removed, it just dries out.
Alicia,
And,
thank you very much. We're running out of time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So much to
You see,
cover.
when I start to talk about it, I cannot stop. But
Please.
guys, if you have any questions, you have my email, because on the website there is contact us. If you will watch this again, if you will have an option to watch it again, there is my email at the last page. But you can, you can send an email to me and I will answer your questions, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys. All the best to you. And I hope to see you in real life as a physical people next year when Canadian can cross the border without
Thank you.
any verification of vaccination, all right?
Yes.
Thank you. Have a wonderful seminar.
Thank you.
Goodbye.